Alright, if you're gonna look at the best villains in all of video game history, you gotta start off with the best villain of all time, which is Darth Vader from Force Unleashed. Now this guy, he concocted a plan to, it was so intricate. He created a rebel alliance to throw off the Emperor so that he can have a young Padawan kind of take over, and then they were gonna together take over Palpatine. Like, it was so smart, so brilliant, and it almost worked.
Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Here's a guy who's just evil. You're gonna summon a meteor and blow up the world? Why? You're on the planet that you're summoning the meteor to. What are you doing? And then his sword is just ridiculously long. It makes your sword look stupid by comparison. If I were Sephiroth, my plan would be like, I'm just gonna stab you from like 3 miles away. I don't know how I even won that game. Because if I were Sephiroth, I would have easily defeated Cloud and the rest of his buddies. I would have been like, hey, I'm 3 states away, stab! Now you're dead. That would have been it.
So you got the doctors, the original doctors. I'm talking Wily and Robotnik. I think that Wily probably had the better music, but Robotnik had the better gadgets. Although you did have that dragon in the Wily levels. I don't know where that thing came from.
So it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I finally am at the end of Mass Effect 3, but I can't stop because I'm this close. I gotta wake up in 3 hours, and I'm limping, I'm all hurt. I'm like, am I gonna survive here? Is this the end of the game? And all of a sudden, you've got Mr. Marauder Shields pops up around the corner. I'm like, oh, look at this. This is how Shepard dies. Is this really how the game ends? I'm gonna lose to this Marauder? In fact, I actually did die the first time, that bastard. Then I realized, oh, I hit continue and it's not the end of the game. Might as well have been the boss though. Better than anything else that happened after that point, let's face it.
I'm gonna go ahead and give some props to Slender Man because A, he's super creepy, B, he's a character from an indie game, and C, he made Ian and Anthony wet themselves, which is great. Anyone who can cause Ian and Anthony fear or discomfort or general displeasure gets a double thumbs up in my book. Gotta love that guy.
And then you had Lucifer, who wasn't really like a great boss at all. But halfway through the fight, you just noticed that his just giant dong was just like waving in the wind the entire time. So while you're like trying to stab him, you're just really trying not to touch that dick because it's just kind of hanging there. But you also want to kill him and save Beatrice. So it's sort of a dilemma that I don't think really happened in any other video game. It was uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable.
Alright, so the Portal game is awesome. And one of the reasons it is awesome is because of GLaDOS. And quite often you forget that she is the bad guy of the game because she's just so lovable.
Let's give your parents a call right now.
She calls your parents, and then you get an error message saying that the parents you are trying to reach no longer love you.
Making you feel just great about yourself as you continue to die over and over and over.
And that really hurt and hit close to home because my parents have actually said that. So
Resident Evil 3 was a great Resident Evil game. You had zombies and everything, and then they introduced Nemesis. Now I remember the first time I saw Nemesis, I was like, f this shit. He runs?
And really, what were they thinking when they concocted Nemesis? They're like, oh, you know what we should add to this horrible monster BOW thing? A rocket launcher. Yeah, nothing will go wrong there. I'm sure it won't get out of control and just murder everyone. Yeah, let's put a rocket launcher on it.
Make it through a hallway, all right? I shut the door behind me, I'm safe. Nope, goes right through the door, still chasing after you. It's absolutely horrible. And that's what makes it great.
I would go with King Minos, the Judge of the Dead. He would just like smell people and instantly know what they did wrong.
General Serrano from Bulletstorm. I don't know how many of you guys played Bulletstorm. It didn't sell that well, but General Serrano was one of the best villains of all time.
You just sniff him and be like, suicide. Like if he were to like sniff Joven, he'd be like, douchebag.
The game was good, but then my real motivation behind the game was I really just want to shove my shotgun in this guy's face at the end of the game and just keep pulling the trigger over and over again. Kind of how I feel about Joven.
You want to know who the worst villain is of all time? Lasercorn and Sohinki. Hate those guys.
You know who's not on my list? Bowser. Talk about a villain with no imagination. What am I gonna do this game? I don't know, maybe I'll kidnap the princess like I did in every other game I was in ever.
Ooh, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about WoW a little bit because that had some of the most epic bosses, I think, in video game history. Just because the original ones, so like Ragnaros and Onyxia, you needed like 40 people to come together and all have no life together and then kill a boss. Now you guys know what I did in high school. And I guess that's why we're single.